And welcome back. This is your man Warrior, and this is the much anticipated Warrior Presents 2019 free-to-play farming guide, otherwise affectionately referred to as the 4-pillar system. If you have heard of the 4-pillar system, you know exactly what I am talking about. It has now been expanded for 5 pillars. Now we're going to get into each pillar briefly, but I am going to have a detailed video on each pillar and the reasonings behind everything that you see here today. Now, one of the things really quickly I want you guys to note is that I have since broken it down by the area of the game in which you're going to acquire the character. This is key because I never previously did this. What this does is create hyper efficiency in getting every character that is most important first. Now, you'll notice some characters, such as the very end on Dark Side, there's some really important characters at the very end on Node 5, but those are the absolute hardest characters to farm in the game and will take the absolute longest to even get to, let alone start to farm. So it only makes logical sense to put some of those characters at the very end, because putting them into like the beginning of Pillar 1 is just silly because you can't even farm them. So you've got to be realistic with your goal as far as what goes into each pillar. Now, this is non-linear in the sense that you don't do all of Pillar 1, 7 stars, whatever, and then move on. I was very black and white last time saying make sure you complete a pillar before you move to a new pillar. That is not the case anymore. What it is each section of the game has a 5-pillar system. So there's actually 8 different sub-pillar systems. If you can see this, you got Dark Side, Light Side, Cantina, Guild Store, Cantina Store, Squad Arena Store, Galactic War Store, and then what you can unlock. Now, you'll notice there are not any of the ships store or any of the ship nodes. And that is because the ship nodes will aid in the existing characters already on this map, and you're going to be able to go for all of the characters that are not listed here that you need, such as some of the Geonosians, or you'll be able to go for all of the ships that you need that are not on one of the nodes that you get here. So those two are excluded because you're going to use your ship currency every single day for the crew members and their subsequent ships that you need. I'm going to leave that open for you guys to really go for what you want, but you're going to get the majority of what you want right from this free-to-play farming guide. Now, Pillar 1's primary focus is going to, of course, be Phoenix for Emperor Palpatine and Thrawn, because those two individuals are going to be Empire, and they're going to add to your Empire for R2-D2. Now, you'll also notice that you see a couple of targets at least in every single pillar. The first thing you're going to see is that Darkseid has 2. You've got Sabine, and you've also got Range Trooper. Now, you'll notice in Pillar 2, there's a couple more. So I want you to think non-linearly. Let's pretend that you are starting the game and you think Sabine's necessary for ships, but isn't needed in Pillar 1, you can pause her, go Range Trooper as your primary target, and then go, once you unlock Bastila's node, go into Pillar 2 and start farming Bastila. I suggest always farming 2 characters at the same time from each section of the game. So if you decide to do that, remember that you will want to eventually finish Sabine, but don't be afraid to move to the right through the pillar system to access characters that you find may suit you better in your progress. Now, Light Side again has the same thing, keeping in mind the left character, which is General Veers, would be your primary target in Pillar 1. The right one, which was Talia, would be your secondary target. Now, again, if you determine that Talia is necessary but not super necessary over your healer, Elder, you could decide to swap and do Elder first and then put Talia kind of on the back burner. So keep in mind what this is a priority list for Darkseid. So you can see on top at 5 pillars, there's 10 characters that are in their priority list of how quickly you can access their node to how long will it take to actually farm them, and they're put into a priority. Now, this is also nonlinear in the sense that once you complete these Darkseid, you don't wait for the rest below. You continue into Pillar 2 or Pillar 3 in the Darkseid, regardless of where you are at in the other spots inside of the pillar system. So for example, if you are in the Cantina store and you get your Chopper and you get Boba Fett taken care of, but everybody else is still in Pillar 1, you could move to Pillar 2 and eventually to Pillar 3 in the Cantina store, even though you haven't actually completed all of Pillar 1 yet. This is fluid. What I mean by that is you guys get to move through the 5-pillar system within each store or each node system. And then, of course, below we'll have the unlocks for Pillar 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Of course, Pillar 1, you're going to get Thrawn and Emperor Palpatine. And so for anyone that's wanting to pause the Phoenix farms before they get to 5-star, I would highly discourage that. You'll also notice that we have some smugglers and some First Order kind of creeping up in Pillar 1. That's going to help you. Again, I'm going to have a video on every pillar as to the reasoning and the why behind each system. But if you follow this, Pillar 1 is going to get you multiple arena teams, including an Empire team, which will do really well, is also going to get you a Phoenix squad, which will do really well. And you'll also have scoundrels to be able to do the scoundrel events. Now, Pillar 2, which I personally have already started to dip into on my own free-to-play account. I am farming for Bastila. And while she's the only one in Pillar 2 that I have started to work on, I do know that Jedi are going to be a arena team that I might focus on as I start to unlock more of them. Of course, Old Ben is important as well, but when you finish Pillar 2, you will be able to get R2-D2, BB-8, Yoda, and CLS. Now, keep in mind, all of the characters in Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 are unlockable at 5 stars except CLS. So all the characters you're farming for, get them to 5 stars as your primary goal, and then just remember you can be fluid. What I mean by that is if you've got a 5-star Thrawn and Emperor Palpatine, and you know BB-8 is coming up in a month, and your First Order are only at 2 and 3 stars, you can pause your other characters to work on your First Order, even though you're not complete with Pillar 1. Move into that partial Pillar 2 and start working on those First Order, so that way you can get your 5-star BB-8. It is better to get a legendary character at 5 stars so you have it to utilize and to gear, and every legendary is definitely worth unlocking. Now, when you go into Pillar 3, 4, and 5, you're going to notice some duplication on the bottom, and that is because there's a chance you may or may not unlock those characters right away. With Pillar 3, you should be able to get Revan and possibly by this time be able to get Chewie. And by now you should have enough of the currency to start working on Wampa. Now you could have it Hermit Yoda or Wampa. That's your choice. I just put one in one slot and one in the other. And part of the reason why is I have Nest in the very last pillar, so I put Wampa in the 3rd pillar. With Pillar 4, you're going to notice that you're going to be able to finally be able to 7-star Chewie if you haven't already, and you'll be able to get C-3PO, and hopefully you'll be able to get him higher than 5 stars, but if not, you'll see he's also in Pillar 5 to finish up, and you'll be able to get Nest. Now, you'll also notice in things like Galactic War Store, you're going to blast through these characters pretty fast. In Pillar 1, you're going to get your Zeb, and then you're going to go over and get Cad Bane, and you're going to move over and get Biggs, and you're going to get Captain Phasma, and then K2SO. After that, I just have Galactic War Store. And what that means is you're going to use that currency exclusively to get any of the ships or crew members that you need to unlock. It's open and fair game for anything, or you can start to purchase something that's already 7-star to be able to get gear for all the characters. Now, the only ship that is exclusively prescribed is in the Cantina store. You'll see that is Cassian's U-Wing in Pillar 5, but there's a really good chance in the Cantina store you will be able to blast through this really fast and be able to get all the characters that you want by the time you're maybe in the middle of pillar system number 3. Now, with this system, it makes logical progression through the game, starting with the easiest to acquire nodes and characters, working to the most difficult to acquire characters and nodes. But keep in mind, again, if you are farming a character within a particular store, you use the 5-pillar system within that store, so you can very likely be in Dark Side and Light Side Pillar 1, Cantina Pillar 1, but in Guild Store Pillar 2, Cantina Store Pillar 2, and Galactic War Store Pillar 3. That's something that could happen because each of these are going to move at their own rate or pace. Now, the hardest one to do is going to be Cantina. There are 4 targets in each of the pillars, and you're going to have to decide on priority. For example, I am working on Ezra and Hera, so I have not started with Kira and Kylo Ren unmasked. However, I now have a 5-star Ezra, and I'm working on my 5-star Hera. Once I get Hera to 5 stars, because I am fast approaching ships, I will pause them both at 5-star, and I will start to work on Kylo Ren unmasked as fast as possible for a couple of reasons. When ships launches, I will want him and his ship to really help have dominance at the beginning of the game. And then once I get him to 5 stars, I can head back and finish Hera and Ezra on my farm. Keeping in mind also that when you note that, let's say the BB-8 event was coming back and you have other characters in the first pillar to 5 stars, you could pause those cantinas and move over to the first order cantinas to unlock those characters and get them to 5 stars. Remember, legendaries unlock at 5 stars, and it is important and imperative that you get those characters to 5 stars before you finish any of the other characters off. Now, you got to be careful from getting too far ahead of yourself. You don't want to not complete Pillar 1's cantina and be all the way over trying to unlock the characters in like Pillar 3 or 4, because the problem with that is there are characters in Pillar 1 and 2 that, like I said, do need to be completed off. One of which is CLS in Pillar 2 requires 7-star characters. So Old Ben and Luke are going to have to be finished off at 7 stars. Now you'll notice a lot of these characters actually have multiple spots where they could get, such as Old Ben, maybe not just Cantina, but maybe there's other areas of the game you can get him. I only put the area in which I feel you should be farming these characters out of, not all of their locations. So if you find that there's a character you want to get, and they're such as Boba Fett, and you decide that Boba Fett has 2 nodes and he's in the Cantina store, you could farm for Chopper and then Boba Fett on his nodes. I am currently doing this. This doesn't mean you have to get him out of the Cantina store. It's just showing you where I suggest farming that particular character out of. But a lot of these characters have subsequent locations. Now, a lot of the nodes that are on here have ships, and you're going to unlock a lot of ships and a lot of the crew members, but there are a lot of crew members and ships you're going to get out of, remember, your ship nodes as well as your ship store, the currency, the fleet currency. That fleet currency is going to be exclusively used for your ships, and you want to make sure you focus on all your crew members as well as the ships first and foremost, and that is why I did not put it on here, because you are going to decide which are the most important. Now, if you follow this guide, you are going to unlock every single faction in the game and the most important characters in the game. These are the literal top characters you could possibly have. If it's an important character, it is on here. If it is not an important character and is not on here, feel free to make exceptions or changes to the free-to-play farming system. This is not designed to take away the fun of the game. If there are specific characters such as Savage or Count Dooku that you really, really want because you like that character in the Star Wars universe, by all means, incorporate them into your free-to-play farming guide. Now, I have an individual Saitor who has a farming guide that's an Excel spreadsheet that you get to use with this farming guide, and he has built that for your guys' benefit. It's very cool. You can follow your own progress by using this Excel spreadsheet that he has. It's the best tool, and over 5,000 people are currently and actively using the Pillar system and his farming guide Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to leave a link for that in the description of the video, as well a high resolution picture of what you're seeing here. That is going to be in a link below as well. You can click on it and download it in high 4K resolution so you could zoom in and out on your own device. I really hope that this is going to give everybody new focus. So this 5-pillar system takes into account absolutely everything in the game and gets you everything you need to have all of the legendary ships, all of the legendary characters, all the heroes' journeys, and gets you every character of importance, and it breaks it down by where to get them and the priorities in which you can get these characters. As always, if you like this and you want more of these style videos explaining everything about this, from different arena teams you can use within each pillar system to how to mod and all sorts of other stuff, leave them in the comments down below. Give me a like, and make sure you check out the description again for the Excel spreadsheet as well as a high resolution of this picture. As always, keep your gaming on. Warrior out.